My guests this week, Lakendra Kellam and George Herb, both are single, and they will give us their perspective of a relationship. Stay tuned. Yes. Good evening and welcome to Stewart Spotlight Podcast. I want to thank you for joining us for another exciting episode. Once again, my name is William Stewart Jr. and I will be your host this evening. We have a very interesting and exciting episode today talking about relationships from two single individuals who will give their perspective about relationships. Once again, I want to thank you for tuning in and watching. I know you could be doing other things, and I hope everyone enjoyed this whole week. Well, some of us enjoyed the week, but some of us really didn't. Well, let's just get the elephant out the room right quick. Well, we had the election this week, and Donald Trump will be serving 4 years in the White House as the president. My last point on this subject, as I was reviewing some of the network stations, there were over 14 million people who did not even vote. Let that soak in a little bit. 14 million people who did not even vote. That tells us something. However, you guys picked your choice, and now we have to deal with it. Anyway, let's go on. Let's move on. I'm tired of talking about that right now. Monday is November the 11th. It's Veterans Day, and I have a little video I want to play. Take a look at it.
Since the dawn of our nation, brave citizens have answered the call to arms when the country was in danger. We hold our veterans in reverence for their courage, their sacrifice, and their honor and service to their fellow Americans. Generations of liberty's sons and daughters have gone into harm's way, manned the battlements, and sailed the seas to preserve freedom for all. Our nation owes a debt of gratitude we can never repay to those who have chosen to answer the call to arms. Today, we honor them and thank them for their service, for their dedication to our nation's preservation, and for their oath to the Constitution on which the foundation of our government rests. On this Veterans Day, we ask all Americans to honor the over 18 million veterans among us and thank them for their continued dedication to our country, our freedom, and our future.
Yes, on behalf of Stewart Spotlight Podcast, we want to thank you. Thank all the veterans in this world. Right now, we're about to come to my favorite part of the program. Now, you know what time it is right now. And I need your support. Now, you're asking yourself, how could I support you? I'm glad you asked. I need you to like, subscribe, share, and make sure you turn on that notification bell. So therefore, every time we are live, you will get a notification on your devices to let you know, tune in to Stewart Spotlight. Make sure you turn it on. So I'm not going to prolong this any further. As I stated before, we have an exciting program tonight speaking on relationships. And I was given this term from a friend of mine, a very, very close friend of mine, Linda. I know she's looking at it, her and her sister. And the slang way of saying this is ready to go. The English term is I'm ready to go. So we're going to use the slang term ready to go. So with that being said, we're going to go into a commercial, and after we have this commercial, we're going to come back with our guests for this evening. Stay tuned. Woo. Fall special available now. Visit our website, StewartSpotlight.com. This month's special, hoodies 10% off while supplies last. Take that walk along the beach with sweatshirts and keep yourself nice and warm on those chilly nights. We still have t-shirts available on all sizes. Shop now. Visit our website on StewartSpotlight.com. That's right. Visit our website on StewartSpotlight.com and get those t-shirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, whatever you might see on the website. Check it out. Speaking of my guest this evening, Miss Lakendra Kellam and Mr. George Hurd. Let me give you a little disclaimer before we bring them on. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page, that there won't be no problems. So I'm going to read this disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of my guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of any female or male perspective. With that being said, let's bring on my guests this evening, Lakendra and George. Welcome to the show. How you guys doing?
Great. Thank you.
I am so honored to have you guys to come on this evening. I know you could have been doing other things, but I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on to talk about relationships. So, Lakendra, how's you and your family doing?
Good, thank God. Can't complain.
Now, Lakendra, you were married and you have three kids, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And everybody's doing fine.
Everybody's good.
Okay.
Everybody's good.
Great.
And keeping me
Keeping you busy?
keeping me young.
Oh, I like that in you. And George, you were married as well, and you have 3 kids and 5 grandkids and 1 great. Explain.
Yes.
How are they doing?
Everyone's doing great.
Okay, great. So let's go on with this program. So Lakendra, just give me a little breakdown. What do you think a relationship is?
That's kind of a loaded question.
Oh, that's what we're here for, to talk about it.
Well, I think it's a union. I think it's a choice to be in a relationship. For me, it's a commitment. I think it's an opportunity to share and grow with someone, to have love and
trust.
Times and trust. Absolutely trust.
Got to have that trust.
Yeah, I mean, to develop a solid foundation and grow something that could be long lasting.
Okay. George, what you think? What's your opinion?
Well, I think it's communication and connection between 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that trust and learning each other, understanding each other, views, life.
So basically, a relationship is a working relationship as far as coming together, learning each other, growing together, and to take it to the next level.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about our first date. So who would pay the bill for the dinner? Lakendra, tell me about it.
I mean, I'm open. Like I've split a bill. I've covered a bill. Like that doesn't matter as much, but I would imagine if someone is taking me out, I just think naturally, if you invited me out, then I would expect that you would be covering the bill,
Oh,
but
okay.
not because of any gender role or anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, because in the olden days, the gentleman or the male will always have to pick up the tab. So, but now in this new generation, it's the female or woman the female or male will pick up the tab for the dinner. So, George, give me your feedback on that.
Well, I'm old school. I would pay the bill every time I go out until she say, "Well, you know what? I got it this time."
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I would pay the bill all the time and we go out for dinner
Oh,
until she say, "I'm gonna take you out today."
oh, okay.
Then when she says she's gonna take me out, I may assume or I may ask, "Are you paying?" I don't want to get caught up. But a lot of time when a woman does ask and say, "I want to take you out," she's end up paying.
Oh, okay.
But I'm mostly all the time paying. I don't care when I'm out.
So you really old school then?
Yeah.
All right.
I think and that would work for me. I think too. I'd be okay with that, but I'm the way that I am too. I would definitely offer and want to volunteer and pay. But for me, that tradition, I would be okay with that in terms of the man that I want. Like I would like for him to assume that position.
Okay. So now in a relationship, you're trying to build up this trust and communication. So now if a person you're dating this person before you go to the marriage part, you're dating this person and you're trying to learn them and they always blowing you off. How do you feel about that? I mean, let me break it down. So if a person were to say, well, let's go to dinner, and then all of a sudden that person changed their mind and go somewhere else. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it doesn't feel like, go ahead, George.
Are you saying change their mind?
Just change their mind and decide to do something else.
One problem. No problem. I mean, if that's what she likes to do. Hey, I'm here to solve a problem. I don't make problems. I solve them. So my thing is, if she feels she didn't want to go to dinner, she let me know ahead of time, and she want to change to go somewhere else, it's fine with me.
Well, no, I'm not saying somewhere else with you, somewhere else with somebody else.
Another person?
Yes.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like, well, she don't want to be with me. Okay, bye.
Just like that, huh?
Just like that.
Now, how many times does it take you to realize, okay, I'm done with this? You just do what you have to do.
Well, with me, it's where the fact that it's the way that I ask question and the way she's answering my question make me feel that, well, she don't want to be bothered.
Mm-hmm.
So she does that so many times. Hey, I'm gonna walk away. I mean, she don't want to be bothered.
Okay, Lakendra, what you think?
I mean, I agree. I feel like very early on, if I'm not being treated as a priority, or I feel like the excuses or the standing up is not justified or not justified to what would be acceptable for me, then I feel like you're not interested. And like George, I think it'd be time to let it go.
So now, how long would it take you to let something go? Would it take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a whole year to let it go? Or you just let it go when it started instantly happening?
I mean, I think it all depends. It's not just a one size kind of fits all thing. Like, I think, like I said, if the circumstances were something that was acceptable to me, then I would accept that and then give grace, But I think, again, if something happened, and I don't know what the number is, I think it's something more that I feel inside, whatever that conviction is. But when that time comes, then I would be ready to have a conversation and let whomever know that this is not working for me and obviously not for you.
Okay, so if that person doesn't want to have the conversation with you, how do you feel about that?
That's okay. I'm not going to force anything. I'm not going to force the conversation, just like I'm not going to force myself to stay in a situation where I'm not wanted.
Okay. George?
I feel the same way. Mostly, like I said, it comes with me with when we talk about situations, We talk about things.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it depends on my question. It depends on the answer, how they answer. And they constantly blowing me off. Then I got the message because been around, I'm 61, been around for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know if
Mm.
somebody want to be with you, they don't want to be.
Mm.
So I don't waste my time. I don't want to waste their time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to call back again.
Okay, that duly noted. So now in a relationship, now as I stated before, you're trying to get to know a person 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or whatever, however long it takes you to know this person. Where do you start talking about a long-term relationship such as marriage?
I mean,
Uh,
I think for me, I wouldn't put that pressure on some. I think it would feel natural for me, and it's not that I'm going to date somebody for 5 or 10 years, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there would be conversations leading up to me even making a determination that this is someone that I would want to date. That would be indicative of when someone might be interested in pursuing something more serious like marriage.
Okay.
So
So have you ever been in a situation like that, Lakendra?
no, I haven't. I've been married, and actually I've been married twice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think I've dated and people were certain, and at the time I felt like I was certain, and it was the thing to do, and the time was right, and we just went with it.
All right, George.
well, with me, if I start dating, I made in my mind now that I give them at least 2 years. When marriage starts, talk about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I know that person within 2 years, then I don't need to be with them.
So 24 months, you think it would take for you to start talking about marriage?
It probably take probably 6 months to a year, depending on how we both are feeling each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it may pop up. Maybe we may discuss it here and
Okay.
there. But
Okay.
I'm not gonna be with that woman no 3 years, 4 years,
Okay.
and I'm married.
Okay.
And I think for me, that's something, I'm sorry,
Go
William,
ahead.
that would
Go ahead. Go
come
ahead.
just in conversation naturally when we start to date. And I think about how things align. Like, where do you see, how do you feel about marriage? Like, what's
Mm-hmm.
your timeline for marriage? I feel like it would be an intentional conversation that would happen early on so that we can kind of gauge where we are in terms of things. It doesn't determine the outcome, but at least you set some sort of foundation or some expectation very early on.
Okay. Now, would
And
that be any kind of pressure, either or, would be putting on either party? Say, okay, well, we've been together for a year. I need to get married. Is that right or
At this
wrong?
stage in my life, I would say no at this stage, but I can't say that I didn't feel differently when I was a little bit younger.
Okay.
But yeah, at
So,
this stage, probably not as much pressure in that direction.
so when you were younger, you was more in tune that you want to get married.
Probably, yeah. I think I was a little bit more inclined and felt like it was just a natural progression. It needed to happen after spending a certain amount of time with someone.
Okay, George, what do you think about that?
well, no pressure. I didn't have any pressure, no pressure about getting married. But say like it depends on the person that I'm speaking with or talking with.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kim, she already been married twice. I've been married twice. So we got the general idea how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So as me to date her, and if I'm feeling her within my heart, yes, question may come up because I'm feeling her. And I know if she's feeling me, I might bring up the question about marriage. First I ask her how she feel about
Mm. Okay, so it wouldn't be no pressure because
it. I know.
of your experience that you went through, so you already know
Yeah,
what is needed to move forward.
right.
Right.
Okay. Now, I was
Mm.
given a couple of questions that I was a little leery about, but I'm going to ask anyway. Um, you know,
Okay.
people just send me questions and I had to look at them first, like, oh, I can't say that. But anyway, how does one feel about the other one if another person don't have kids versus the other one? So I'm just gonna give you a scenario. So Lakendra, you meet a guy, you have 3 kids already, and the guy don't have any kids. So How do you feel about that? And George, you might want to answer that question on behalf of a male. If you say, well, you're meeting this young lady and she has 3 kids and you don't have any kids, how would you feel?
I
Well,
mean,
about,
for me,
no, you go
Sure.
ahead.
me. For me,
You
I
first.
think I'm all about a blended family and having an opportunity to be a bonus mom as long as it's in a situation where there's people are respectful, and for me, someone would have to be willing to accept my children, that we're a package deal. So if you're not interested in someone who has children, and we also have to have a conversation to understand I'm not in a position where I want to have any more children. So we'd have to be clear on that as well. But definitely a package deal. Whoever comes into my life, and my children are older now, but more important when they were a lot younger, was someone that was going to have like an invested interest, not only in me, but developing something for the family, for sure.
Okay, George.
So you asked me if I meet a woman and she has kids,
And you don't have any kids.
oh, it wouldn't be no problem. You see the reason why it won't be for me.
Okay.
My mother and father. My father took care of 7 kids, wasn't here. So I saw that. I understand that. So when I did meet a woman who has kids, it didn't bother me
Okay.
because I saw my father groom 7 other kids running me. So it wouldn't be no problem. And she's right. It is a package deal. Along the way, I learned that it has to be a package deal in order to deal with the family, deal with the mother, because she has kids. In order for me to really get to the mother, I had to accept her kids.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I'll just piggyback off what you said, George. I'm also a product of a stepfather, a household. My mom married and we were very young and we had a stepfather, and he really set the standard for me of what my expectation would be of how a man should engage my children. We were fortunate to have him, and he stepped in and he did a wonderful job. And for me, during my marriage, I had an opportunity to be a bonus mom, and I still have a wonderful relationship with my stepdaughter today. She was actually my first girl before I had my own daughter. So I get it from both sides. I'm again open to invite someone's child, and as long as they clear that they're not getting any more out of me.
I ain't know.
Well, this leads into my next question, because if a person have kids, how would they deal with the parent of the other? For example, Lakendra, you have kids. I mean, the person you're dating has kids. Now you got to deal with the baby mama, and George, you have to deal with vice versa. So how does that work? Because there's going to be some animosity about who is this person around my kids and blah 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 blah.
And I'll talk to that. I think for me, I've been on both sides. I've had a stepdaughter, and of course, there's a mom involved, and then I've had husbands that remarried, and there were children involved, and another woman involved. But for me, it's just about respect, and at the foundation, trusting that the person that I chose to marry is going to make the right decision about who's going to be around my children. And as long as they have the best interest of my children in mind on that end, I'm fine with that. And for me, it's just about, there's a maturity factor for me. I can't control what anybody else does, but I like to come into that situation being as mature as possible and as respectful initially, and intending to be respectful coming into it. And I personally haven't had any issues. I didn't have any issues with that, because it's not blurring lines. It's being very clear that this is over, and I'm not manipulating situations with the children or doing any of that. And I think all of that kind of plays into the dynamic, the potential for a good family dynamic.
Okay, George.
I was fortunate. I was blessed. I didn't have no problem. But this is the funny part about it though. When one of the mothers took me to child support, she got her money. I had to go tell the other one. I said, "You better go get yours, but she get more than what you want." So I had to go tell the other mother, "She taking me. You better go take." But she didn't take me, and that was great. She didn't take me. I mean, he said no. So mine, I didn't have no problem.
Yeah.
Screw each other, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Right. And I think it's a good thing when you kind of almost become an advocate or ally for the other person, because to have a woman in there, and I'm saying you need to give that lady that money, and take care of the child, because I have mine and I know how important it is to help me to get through, So when it really works, then it kind of works in their favor. And I think that's been my experience as well.
Okay. So now we're going to take a break right quick, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about marriage. Since you guys you were involved in a marriage, we're going to talk about that once we come back from this break. Just hang on in there with me, okay? Hello, my name is William Stewart Jr., President and CEO of Stewart Spotlight. The purpose of this podcast is to showcase individuals like yourself. We all have something to share about our lives. Therefore, I challenge you today. If you went through something, coming out of something, and just want to share your testimony, we would love to hear your story. So please give us a call at 888-552-1944. And one of our producers can make arrangements so you can appear on this podcast, or visit our website, stewartspotlight.com. Because of your experience, it can reach someone who is watching this podcast and make a difference in their lives. Thank you. We're back, and we're back with Lakendra and George talking about relationships. And once again, we left off on we're going to talk about marriage right now. Now, Lakendra, I'm going to start with George. George, you've been married for how many years?
2.5 years. Well, almost 5 years.
Okay. So was it difficult being married versus being in a relationship?
Yes.
How difficult?
Well, it was difficult because of certain things that in a relationship that you have to work on, with the fact that the woman maybe wasn't aware of certain things, or she wasn't taught of certain things. And then when you try to relate that to that person, it became difficult. Mm-hmm. And so we both started to understand each other and our situation. And you have to really learn that person. And if we're not learning each other and trying to understand each other in that communication, it won't work out.
But weren't you learning them in the relationship before you got married?
Yes, part of it. But once you get married, then it goes to another different level. And what I have known and understand is that women or people in general, when you say situations come up, at time when you bring up a situation about a problem, vice versa, that person probably make it about them instead of making it about the person bringing up the situation. So I had to learn that while I was in my marriage. I didn't know about that before my marriage.
Okay, Lakendra?
I would say, fortunately, and I hate to make everything sound wonderful because the marriages didn't last, but 7 years for each, and that's probably 3 years dating, 4 years married, so total of 7, for oddly enough, for each relationship. I would say, fortunately for me, the person that I married was the person that I dated. So to me, there wasn't much of a shift. I would say the biggest change was moving in together, and that probably happened before the marriage, but I felt like that's where I felt the biggest shift, the introduction of the children and moving in together. But the actual marriage itself, it felt very much like the relationship that I was in when we were dating.
Okay.
The expectations didn't change. I feel like, we both showed up the way that we did in a relationship, and it kind of carried through.
Okay. So now in a relationship, it's going to be a relationship / marriage. In the Bible, it says to marry for better and worse, richer and poor, correct? So was there any incident that you didn't feel that you wasn't getting the proper respect or support from your husband or wife when you were in the marriage?
I'd say in one marriage I wasn't giving. Not even that I wasn't giving the respect and the things that were necessary in a marriage. And not to justify it, I was very young, when I married the first time and the second time. But I would say the first time I didn't give. I didn't do everything right.
Hmm.
If I could turn back the time or do things differently, I would do that.
Now,
Yeah,
before you got married, how many years was it when you were dating?
17. I was 17 when we started dating and got married at 21.
So you knew him for
So
3 years. So you knew him for 3 years, and then you got
four.
married, and then it still didn't work out from that point.
And I think it was a lot of me very young, marrying someone that I dated very young and kind of going through the growing pains
Mm,
with him. Like he was wonderful. He's a great dad. I had two, my sons are both with him.
mhm.
But I think it was just a maturity thing. I was selfish and kind of wasn't flexible, kind of the things that you learn that you kind of need to be as you get older. So
Okay, George.
Well, in my marriage, my first, I think it was actually it was her because she always said it was her.
Hmm.
My first marriage was something that happened in her past, and I had to deal with that. I had to work on that in my first marriage.
Hmm.
So I felt like I was doing everything that I was supposed to have been done right. I mean, I know that's two sides to the story, but what's so great about it, if you ever hear her talk about it, she would say it was her. I'm not just saying just to be saying it,
Hmm.
mhm.
but I had a difficult time in the long run with her. But like I tell people that I treated it like to say if she was on drugs, so you're not gonna leave her. You're gonna try to work with what's going on because we were still together for 10 years before we got married.
Hmm.
Why I went back for the second time to marry her because I felt like I didn't really get what I would like to get from her
Mm.
because of the past that she had.
Okay. So let me turn the tables a little bit. If you guys were in a marriage for 10, 15, 20 years, and your spouse wasn't giving you the support, I mean, you guys sat down and said, well, we're going to do this, this, and this, and it doesn't turn out the way it was expected. How do you feel? Do you give more support? Do you go to counseling and say, okay, we need to talk about it? Or you just walk away from it all?
I mean, I think at 20 years when you put numbers in like that, that's an investment at that point. Like for me, I think you try what you can, and again, I need a little bit more, William. Give us a actual scenario.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna give you a scenario. Okay, so
Thank you.
therefore, you and your husband, I'm talking to you, Lakendra. You and your husband is you met and you guys decided to have a family, and you wanted to. You were both employed, and you was doing good. Then all of a sudden, your husband said, "Well, I'm stopping. I'm quitting work. I just don't want to do no more." And don't work for many of years. And now you picking up the slack. How do you feel? Is that a healthy relation? I mean, a healthy marriage, or do you try to go to counseling to try to work it out, or you just walk away?
I mean, I think it's a selfish decision. It's a unilateral decision. I would hope that it was something that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Would I walk away? I can't say that. I mean, and how would it impact us? Am I able to carry the load,
Mm-hmm.
or are we now in a deficit? Like,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things would have to be considered, but it would be tough for me. I would hope that a conversation would be had. And if he made a decision like that, then it would be something that was kind of premeditated. And I would hope that I would be expecting that or that we had an opportunity to plan for it,
Mm-hmm.
financially.
Okay, George, how do you feel about that?
Well, I won't walk away. Um, I try to work it out in many ways I can
Mm-hmm.
about the situation. and see can I make it better. But if she's strong about getting a divorce, yes, I would give it to her.
Mm-hmm.
If that's
Okay.
that's what she really wants, I just give it to her.
Okay. So, have there ever been any cheating in your marriage?
Yes.
Hey, I'm being honest. I want to know.
Yes, America. Yes, William. Yes, America. Yes.
Okay. So, was it on your part or his part?
I've been on both ends of the receiving and the doer and the receiver.
So, is there any reason? Was he not? You just didn't feel.
No, I think it's just a scenario where you think the grass is greener on the other side. And again, growing up with someone and you think you like a certain thing and then you get exposure and your environment starts to change and you get exposed to different types of men and
Mm-hmm.
blue collar to white collar, and you kind of think, like I said, that you're missing out on something.
Mm.
So I take full responsibility for that. That's a conversation that I had with him. I apologize to him. My boys know it was me, because I hurt somebody that really cared about me. And everybody would have thought that we would have been together forever,
And that takes
because that's one of the biggest regrets that I've had. But yeah, I definitely cheated. And
it takes a lot to say that. A strong person to actually admit that they have cheated and try to work it out, talk about it, and share what happened. So, George, give me your feedback on that.
Cheating, I think things start happening when we both wasn't getting what we both wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't getting what I wanted. She wasn't getting what she wanted, and so yes, she did some things.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Okay. So, okay, well, we're winding down. I just have one last question, and I'm gonna piggyback on what you guys would share with the viewers out there. So we spoke about relationship, and which bridged over to a marriage. The ups and downs, the support from each other, the kids involved, your family, external family involved. How do you feel now? What is your expectation now? What are you looking for now? Lakendra?
In terms of what? Like, what do you mean?
A relationship or marriage, or what are you seeking at this age in the period in your life? What are you looking for right now?
I definitely, whatever it is, I want it to be monogamous for sure. I think it's more of a companionship, and I think it's probably a little less conventional. Like, I don't know that I need to live with someone or he needs to come in my house. I'm definitely not going to give up my house and move into anyone else's, and my mom's here with me, retired. I don't know that I want a man living in my house and making her uncomfortable. So, I think, again, it would be something maybe untraditional or unconventional, but it would have to work for us. I think obviously it would have to, but
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily have to mean marriage. But again, we're faithful, to one another, and we're both comfortable with the situation.
So what I'm hearing is a companionship.
I think more of a companionship, a relationship, but a companionship. Somebody I can travel with,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that I can call and talk about my work day or, whatever else is bothering me or whatever else I'm excited about. And we can support each other and,
Okay.
do the things together. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right, George.
Well, it would start off companionship. And yes, I would like to be married again, but it start out companionship. But I'll be looking for probably someone that possibility of being married again. So we'll be right with each other.
Okay. All right.
Marry each other.
And I think, like, George, I agree. Like, you don't know. For me, I don't know until I'm in that ideal situation, right? You fall in love with somebody and they say, let's get married. And you say, I never thought I would be considering this again. But yes, like I'll go for it. But from what I feel right now, I would just be comfortable at least starting out with a solid companionship relationship situation.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with you, Lakendra. Give me, tell the viewers what you think, because we are at a different era now. We have this Gen X, X, Y, Z, B, 8, whatever. Um, what would you express to the younger groups about relationship/marriage? And I'm gonna ask the same question to you, George.
I mean, I think it's still something that should be prioritized. I think it's something that should still be upheld. I think there's still some significance in the family unit, in that traditional family structure. I think for young people, if you are in a relationship where somebody is not at least willing to commit to you in some way, then that's probably not a relationship that you want to entertain. I mean, I think there's definitely a benefit of a two-parent household when the parents are getting along and when things are working out well. And it works when you make the decision to separate or whatever. But I think, again, there's still something, to marriage, to that commitment and the sanctity of it. And I think people should still consider it. It should still be a standard for young people.
Okay, George.
Well, I think it should be aware of the fact that respect. You need to respect one another. When you're in a relationship, you need that support from one another. You need to encourage your spouse, build them up, and to let them know that they are secure when you come into a relationship. I mean, and then you take it to the next level of marriage. That's when the kids, you got to show the love and understanding of building a relationship for the whole family.
All right.
Right. And I just say too, I think that it's two people coming together that are whole. I think it's important that people come together and they're whole and they have resolved their issues and they've taken time not to feel pressured into it has to happen by 25 and none of those things. I think you get the opportunity to grow as individuals before you agree to make a commitment such as marriage or even a commitment to have children, like that. That's a serious thing. So I think both people definitely need to work on themselves. So I can't put a timeline on it, but I would say be prepared and do the work, and do the things before you even consider, but definitely let it be an option.
Yeah,
And a plan. And plan it. And
yeah. Planning is the key right now.
and plan it.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, Lakendra and George, I really want to appreciate you guys coming on Stewart Spotlight, and it gives a perspective of what you went through, both of you guys went through, maybe give someone else who may be looking and viewing some kind of ideas or suggestions of what they may be going through, or maybe enlighten them to do certain things in the future. But once again, I want to thank you guys for coming on, and feel free to come back anytime you would like to share something with the Stewart Spotlight viewers, okay?
Hi, George. Nice meeting you. Thanks for you.
Hold it. George, you got something to say. You have an event coming up, right?
Yeah, it's coming up November 16th. My organization is honoring veterans and community leaders.
Oh, okay.
Crystal Skyback in McCook, Illinois.
Okay, great. Well, once again, we want to salute the militaries out there, and don't go away. We'll be right back with my viewers, but my viewers, just stay with me right quick until the end of the show, all right? Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank them for coming on. It was a pleasure to share and enlighten individuals about relationships/marriage. But last week we had a trivia question, which we may have a winner. I think we do have a winner. The question was, which Major League Baseball team won the 2024 World Series. And I believe the answer was the LA Dodgers. And we have one winner from Los Angeles, California, Jeremy Weatherspoon. You will be receiving a t-shirt in the mail. Thank you for viewing Stewart Spotlight. And make sure you tell your family, friends, and neighbors. And once again, thank you, and you will be receiving your t-shirt in the mail. Okay, we have another trivia question this week. Let's bring it on.
Give the correct answer and you can be a winner of this Stewart Spotlight t-shirt, sponsored by William Stewart Jr.
It's time for Stewart Trivia. Here's another easy question for you. Which famous Disney character has a pet dog named Pluto? Is it A, B, C, or D? The first person who called with the correct answer to 888-552-1944 will be the winner of the Stewart Spotlight t-shirt. Good luck. That's right. If you know the answer, make sure you give us a call at the 888-552-1944. Like I said before, the first person who gives the correct answer will receive a Stewart Spotlight t-shirt. We have a guest that's coming on next week. My next week guest is Sean P. Klein. Sean is a commercial pilot. He was my instructor, and we're going to be talking to him about different professional business or job opportunities in the aviation industry. And he has a wealth of knowledge, and I want to make sure if you're interested in flying or any parts of the aviation, tune in and see what he has to say. But once again, I want to thank my guests for coming on Stewart Spotlight podcast, and I really enjoyed you guys coming and viewing. And also, I want you to make sure, that time, make sure you do this. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you turn that notification bell on so we can connect. Until next week, I want to thank you. And just always remember, it's not about me. It's all about you. Until next week, you guys enjoy the weekend, be safe, and God bless.